Welcome to Bridging the Bayou, where we will explore what it means to work, live, and play in the Bayou Region. Join us as we take a deeper dive into the people and experiences that make our region such a special place to live and work. On each podcast, we will talk to individuals who are making our region grow and go, who are making strides in uplifting our community. This year, Fletcher Technical Community College is celebrating its 75th anniversary, 75 years of changing lives. This is a podcast of Fletcher Technical Community College. Welcome back to Bridging the Bayou, the podcast of Fletcher Technical Community College. I am Chancellor Kristine Strickland, and today I am joined by owner, CEO, president, all the things of Big Mike's Barbecue in the Bayou Region. We are so excited to have Mike Lewis here on the podcast with us. Mike, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So glad you could join us today. Well, we're going to start off. We want to get to know you a little bit better before we kind of talk to you a little bit about restaurant business and leadership in the community and all of the things that you are known for. But are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's do this. Your life has a background soundtrack. What kind of music is playing as we opening credits?
You already know. It's probably going to be the Wu-Tang Clan, Gang Starr, I don't know, Far Side, anything 90s hip hop.
Excellent. All right. I love it. Love it. What is something small that will instantly make your day?
To see like the perfect plate of food go out. I'm all about food, just all my life. So that makes me happy.
Can I ask, what does a perfectly plated food plate look like? What does that look like to you?
Oh, my God. It's when you look at it, you want to eat it. Okay. There are plates of food that you look at and you go, and there's plates of food. You may not even like what's on it, but you go, wow, that looks pretty delicious,
Yeah.
It's weird things like that that make me happy.
No, that is a great thing. That is a great thing, especially with the business you're in.
It doesn't even have to be my restaurant.
Oh, okay.
It could be any restaurant.
Just like a really nice plated meal, huh?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right. You can master any skill overnight. It can be real. It can be imaginary. It can be anything. What skill are you mastering and why?
The skill to motivate others.
Oh, that's a really good one.
It's a necessary skill in my line of work.
Okay.
We're all about motivating others.
Yeah. Is that your why? Is that why you would want to know how to do that?
Absolutely. I think it's an important skill to have. Not everyone possesses that skill. And it's one in our industry you have to master.
Okay. Wonderful. Have you mastered it yet?
I have not.
Okay.
I don't think that you can necessarily master anything in life.
Okay.
But
Great
you
point.
you can keep after it, right? And then every year that goes by, you add another hole in your belt, and you just get better.
Love it. All right. What is a place that feels like home to you, even though you don't live there?
I don't know. I feel like everything I'm going to say is probably going to revert back to restaurants, but I just like being in a very upbeat, cool environment. I love live music. One of my favorite things to do is not necessarily to go to, a theme park or, a concert, but someplace where food is the main focus with all of those activities happening.
That's awesome. And I think that's the kind of environment you try to create at Big Mike's, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do every day at the ones we have now, and especially the one that we'll have in the future.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, question number 5. We're recording a documentary about your life. What's the title? Or what would you like the title to be?
I'm glad I didn't do that. That's the title of it. I'm glad I didn't do that.
Oh, you got me there. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Well, look, growing up, I didn't grow up in the best places, but they weren't the worst places either. Mm-hmm. But, there were certainly a lot of opportunities for me to go the wrong way. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad I didn't do that. So, here I am as a 49-year-old man, and, I could look back at those times growing up, and there's a lot of things that I did instead of things I shouldn't have done, like go to work. I've been working since I was 16.
Yeah.
You know, what's crazy is when I was 16, I had my first job. I remember it was wintertime, it was cold. And I was interviewed. The manager I talk to sometimes on Facebook to this day, his name's Tony Davis. And he asked me as part of one of his interview questions what I wanted to do when I grew up. And I told him I wanted to be an entrepreneur at 16.
Wow.
I kind of knew what that word meant, but not necessarily.
Right.
And, of course, I became that. But that was my first job. I worked there for 3 or 4 years. I missed one day at work.
Wow.
I don't think that I was ever late. I always enjoyed working. And the only reason why I even missed a day of work is going to the doctor. My mom took me, and they did something to my wrist, and they say, well, look, you can't put your hands in water for a day or two or whatever. So I ended up calling in, but that was the only time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And look, that's a great title. You probably should film that documentary. I'm not going to lie. But the idea that every choice and every decision in our lives, there are choices. There are really two different directions that you could choose to go. And that might be a really interesting reflection, is to think back on your life and think about the decisions that you didn't make, right? And how your life might have been different.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It certainly would have been different. You know, early on, I took interest in skateboarding. And so, like I say, my neighborhood wasn't the best, but it wasn't terrible either.
Yeah.
But, because we skateboarded, we would just skateboard away from where we lived. And we would be gone all day and come home later. And, that probably attributed to why I didn't do some things that I could have done. I was not there.
Right. Absence kept you out of trouble then
Exactly.
a little bit.
I was absent for sure.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, it was great to get to know you a little bit better. Let's talk a little bit about the restaurant, the leadership, all those things. So this end of 2025 has brought some big news for Big Mike's Barbecue in the region. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's on the horizon?
Probably about a year before COVID, we bought the property on 311 and Polk Street, and with the plans on putting a restaurant there. And for one reason or the other, it didn't materialize. One started with COVID, and then just several things with storms and whatnot that happened after that. We kind of been kicking this can down the road for probably about 6 years at this point, and we're finally in a position where we're going to build it. This restaurant is going to be just a compilation of ideas that we've had over the years. Probably the restaurant that we wanted to build from the beginning.
Oh.
But we couldn't, and a lot of, times the customers say something to me like, you should have did this over here. But the reality of it is 17 years ago when we started this, even if I had the finances, I don't think I was mentally ready to do something as large as this. And this is a big project. It really is. And people will see once we build it.
Yeah, I think people are very excited already to see what you're bringing.
Oh, yeah. All those things I told you we wanted.
Yep.
The music, the atmosphere. We're doing our best to do that right there on that property on 311.
So, in other words, you're building your own home.
Yes.
Where you want it to be your second home.
Yes.
I love that.
I want to be that guy that's sitting at the end of the bar, about 70, 80 years old, and they go, that guy owns this place, but I look incoherent, just like, just like, that's him, at that point, I'm not even running it anymore. I'm just kind of too old, but that would be, something that I aspire to, is to have this place for a long time and it be a community thing that everybody knows and loves. So anyways, that's been the goal since 2007, and we opened in 2008. And then in 2009, Gustav came was the first thing that shut us down. Then we burned down, and then we relocated, and then we rebuilt. Then we went to Thibodeau, and now here we are with this restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me take a minute. Let's roll back to the beginning of Big Mike's Barbecue. How did the journey begin? Like, how did you get into barbecue? Why the restaurant? All those things.
Look, I've been in the restaurant business, as I said, since I was 16 years old. I don't think I knew that this is what I wanted to do, but I did know I wanted a car, and that's why I got a job, right? So that's why I got my first job, was for a car. And I was a corporate trainer for Darden Restaurants. They are the folks that own Olive Garden, Red Lobster.
They have Bahama Breeze, too, don't they?
That's where I worked.
I was going to say that's my mom's favorite restaurant.
Oh, yeah. Bahama Breeze, I think I am who I am because of Bahama Breeze. And back when I worked for them in the late 90s, that place was ran like the military. It just really was. I mean, they had all their principles and core values and all those things that they taught very well to the folks that they hired. They had high standards. And it left an impression on me that I've tried to duplicate in my restaurant life. And, that's one of the biggest reasons why you need to be a motivator, because not everyone has the same aspirations as you do. So you got to motivate them. And that's really kind of the only way you can get to that, what I call that Darden level, mindset. There's a compilation of different things that is the reason why we're in the business that we're in with Big Mike's. But one of the things that happened is, I think it was 99, we flew into Rochester, New York. We were going to open a restaurant up there for Darden.
Okay.
And, we did open a restaurant. And, we were corporate trainers. We're all getting to town. And the head training guy was going to take us out to dinner. And he mentioned that he's going to take us to Dinosaur Barbecue. And I thought to myself, what kind of lame restaurant is that? Who names their restaurant Dinosaur Barbecue? And I really felt some kind of way about it because, usually they take you to a nice place, Like, this is a big deal. We're getting ready to open up a multi-million-dollar restaurant, right? And so we go to Dinosaur Barbecue, and it's in like a 1900s train station in Rochester. And like 1903 or something. It's an old train station. And the lighting's just right. It's kind of dark in there. They have a bar. There's live music in the bar. The food is phenomenal. And I'm sitting back absorbing all of these, these senses that I have about this place. And I'm going, man, this place is great. So I think like my ideas really spawned from that experience in Rochester, New York. And it's a place that, I really gave no thought about in it being a great place when I was told that it was called Dinosaur Barbecue. But what a great, and it's still there today.
Oh, okay.
And there's multiple locations of Dinosaur Barbecue. I think they might have maybe as many as 11 Dinosaur Barbecues. And the owner of it, John Stage, I think he started a place. He was a biker, and so it had that biker type atmosphere. Yeah. And I really appreciated it. So that's kind of where it spawned. So look, long story short, is driving into Houma to see my dad, and I think it was late 90s. I was still working at Bahama Breeze at the time, and after being here for about a week visiting my dad, my wife and I, she was my girlfriend at the time, we were driving home, and I was talking about opening up a barbecue place in Louisiana. And I want to say that was 99. We actually moved back in 2007 and opened up the restaurant in 2008.
Wow.
So
did you always know that you could cook? Like, were you a barbecue master, or was it really that you saw this concept, this restaurant, and you thought, I'm going to gravitate towards the barbecue side of things?
Great question. So here's the thing. I have a hard time telling people this because I'm not a braggadocious person, but I have to brag about this. And anybody I've ever worked with will validate this. I was a great line cook. I mean, I could absorb a lot of volume. And Bahama Breeze, that was a place, the average restaurant on any given night, might do, 400 or 500, might do 100, 200 people, where Darden restaurants would do maybe, 700 people, 1,000 people in a night, especially being located on the water like we were. And so I always had like a high capacity, and I loved it. I think I loved the adrenaline of cooking in a high volume restaurant more than anything else, because it's an adrenaline rush is what it is. And but anyways, I was a grill cook. Okay, so it's not a far stretch to come from grilling to barbecue. It's the same deal. It's live fire, open fire. And I was a phenomenal grill cook. I mean, I really was. Not to say that I put out the best food, but in terms of like a lot of volume and handling things, I really enjoyed it. It was a rush more than anything else, and it kind of spawned off into barbecue. Okay. And one of my favorite places in Tampa, Florida, is Big John's Alabama Barbecue. I go every time I go home. I go to Big John's. I have to stop, and that was another inspiration. That I had, and the reason why we opened Big Mike's was really those two places, Dinosaur and Big John's, out of my hometown.
Awesome. You were talking about your story. You've had some major setbacks, right?
Yes.
You've had some setbacks that people might have just said, that's it. Mm-hmm. Pack it in. This was not meant to be. Storms, fires, all the things. How did you stay the course? Like, where did you find that inner just stamina to say, nope, going back in.
I could talk about this all day.
Okay.
And first off, I'm not a person that gets moved by a lot. Mm-hmm. It's hard to shake me just as a person. When I was a child, my mom would get mad at me because she's like, why don't you ever get mad? For what? On things you should be mad about, I just look at it like, when challenges come, you have to deal with them. Mm-hmm. And, you either can deal with them in a way that's constructive or a way that's not. Mm-hmm. There's really only two choices. There's really not a third. Yeah. Right? And then, not to get too mushy about it, but I also realize I've been not alive way longer than I'll ever be alive, if that makes any sense. And the short time that I have, I want to do as much as I can. So whatever obstacles I encounter, they're temporary, right? So, you just got to get up and keep moving forward. That's just how I look at everything. No matter, we gotta make sense of things, and things have to make sense for the long-term goal. Right. But at the end of the day, if it's just a matter of putting up with things that get in your way, just get through them and keep going, So always move forward, I guess, is my motto.
Yeah. It's a great motto.
Yeah.
Right? And in times that can feel tumultuous or a lot of change happening, I'm sure people who are watching, listening out here have maybe been through some tough times lately. Yeah. Hurricane Ida and COVID and all the things, right?
Can't change that.
Nope. Great advice. Got to move forward, right?
Can't change it. Got to move forward.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so now I want to turn my attention to sort of the craft around what you do. Yeah. Because I've tried to barbecue like you. Tried to whip up a barbecue sauce like you do. Yeah. And it's epic failure. And look, anybody who knows me is laughing right now in the audience because they know the highlight of my cooking career is Kraft macaroni and cheese. So you do macaroni and cheese way better than me too. But what is it that makes Big Mike so special? And help us understand, I know there's a lot that goes in behind the scenes of how you're cooking the meat. Why is it that every time I get your baby back ribs, they're just literally falling off the bone? They're just the right amount of crispy and tender. What goes into that process?
So I'm a person that, and mainly because of my background, like I say with Darden, we document everything. Mm-hmm. I spend a large amount of time documenting things.
Really?
Absolutely. There is not anything in our restaurant that isn't documented in terms of procedures, right? Mm-hmm. We start from a place of what I'll call good communication through documentation, right? Okay. Where everyone is working from the same playbook. And the only variations in all of this is human beings, right? Right. Right. So, that's where the motivational piece comes in. Mm-hmm. That's where hiring the right people come in. But I think the magic in it is trying to always work towards absolute and good communication of our processes so that we do things the same every time. And once you get to that point of, making sure everybody understands what the goals are, then you have a better chance of being more consistent, And as funny as it sounds, somebody told me, I heard this maybe in the last couple of years, if you do bad consistently.
Okay.
Right? Do it consistently.
Yeah.
Because there's
Don't throw everybody off.
Right. They'll throw them off. But what they were saying was, be consistent with what you're doing. Because bad may only be bad to this group of people, but good to this group of people. Meaning that let's keep everybody in the know about what we're doing, how we're doing it, the same every single time.
Got
you
it.
know,
Yeah.
and if you can do that. Look, let's face it, we all have different preferences on how we like things, right? Mm-hmm. But you have to do what you do and do it well and do it consistently. And the folks that love what you do will continue to support you, you know.
Yeah.
So that's
really good advice, because I think a lot of times, especially whether it's entrepreneurship or really anything, a lot of times we chase after wanting everybody to like us. And when you do that, you cannot be consistent. You cannot be everything to everyone. So find the people who love you and stick with them. Right?
Absolutely. I mean, any given day, somebody could say, oh, baked beans should be thick. Oh, baked beans should be thin.
Oh,
baked beans should have this. Look, this is what we do.
Right.
And now, granted, you know, you have to meet a social acceptable norm on everything you do at a baseline. Right. And then you can expand on that. And here's the important part. You have to be happy with what you're doing, right? So I can't go into my restaurant and say, well, you know, everybody else is happy with the macaroni and cheese except for me. That makes no sense, right?
Yeah.
So how am I going to go do a line check and taste and go, this is horrible macaroni, but they love it. It makes...
That Strickland woman, she keeps buying it.
Right, she keeps buying it. That's absolute. It makes no sense, right?
Yeah.
So you have to start with what you like first, and then from there have consistency, and then that way you are at least offering the same thing to the people that are coming to support you all the time, and hopefully you can gain new customers over time by staying consistent because they know what to expect. You know, so we try to keep the needle, you know, where it needs to be all the time. And, you know, we're not gambling, but as they say, let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah.
We can't worry about everything.
Yeah.
You know, we can't be everything to everyone. You know, we have to do what we do.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So is there a secret ingredient to the Big Mike's barbecue sauce?
Well, yeah.
You going to tell me?
Yeah, it might even be written on the bottle.
Oh, okay.
But
it's the measurements of it, right?
Yeah. I mean, these legal things they make us do. But there's Barg's root beer in it, you know.
Really?
Yes, it's Barg's root beer.
I'll be darned. That makes so much sense.
Yeah. But in my view, anytime you have any sort of recipe, whether it's barbecue sauce, you know, whatever it is, where you have ingredients in it, no ingredient should be so identifiable that dish becomes that. You know, like, of course, macaroni and cheese got to taste cheesy.
Right. Well, yeah.
Right?
Very important to me.
right, exactly. But you should not be able to say, oh, that's cumin, or that, not that you would put that in there, right?
Yeah,
but you get the idea, you know. So I think any well-balanced barbecue sauce should have a great taste, but nothing's so identifiable, you know, that it overpowers the sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the community out there who absolutely loves you and adores you. How much does the community and sort of your place and stature in the community play a role into the decisions that you make for Big Mike's Barbecue?
Oh, a lot.
Yeah?
A lot. I absolutely love where I live. I really do. And I believe, which is one of the reasons why we are building this restaurant, is because we need to keep growing our community. One of the things that I said was that this was bigger than us. And it is. And it's not that we're this big thing. It's the action of doing something new that is a place of people gathering and that, you know, pays taxes and all of these things are important in any community. So, that community connection, especially in our small town, is certainly woven into how we operate the business because, especially in our area, we're a tight-knit community. And if we're not going to invest in our own community, then we can't really count on others to do so, right? So we have to build it. And like they say, I think others will come. I really believe in this area. I really do. And I think that, and I see all kind of projects going on over town right now where people are building different businesses currently.
Yeah.
And, we're proud to be one more asset in the community that, one, provides quality of life. Because, restaurants are quality of life sort of business.
Absolutely.
One of the things that we talk about from my own hometown is how you could go to a different restaurant every day of your life and you'd still have more to go to, right? Because there's so many there, and we see Houma as a vibrant community, and every business decision that we make is to make sure that we add to that. So it's important that we do things in the community, and that we give back in the way where we're building and helping this area to prosper.
Yeah, and that is one of the things that I admire about you is that. This isn't just about owning a restaurant and making lots of money and retiring at the end on the bar stool and watching all of it around you. Is that you really are committed to the community, and you see that in action, both in the restaurants themselves, especially with the local acts that you bring in, music performances, this new restaurant, but also outside of the business. You give of your time and your talent. I know you have served in multiple leadership roles, as has your wife. I've had the opportunity to serve with her on the chamber. I know you've been on a number of boards. I think TITA, I don't know if you're still on TITA, which is a Terrebonne Economic Development Agency.
Yes.
You're also on our Fletcher Foundation board.
Yes.
So thank you, first off, for your service on our foundation board. But why is that important to you? And to your family, obviously.
It's important because, one of the things that I learned about, from my perspective of being on boards, sometimes it's the piece. You may say one thing in a board meeting that spawn an idea. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You don't have to be, the most educated. You don't even have to have the most life experience in the room. But as long as you're contributing to the conversation, there could be one thing that spawned something so huge that you say. And the difference was that you were there, right? So, I like, as much as I can, to be a part of different organizations because, especially here at Fletcher and other institutions where, really, a lot of times population even is driven by the education in the area. How good are the hospitals in the area? Whatever it is, we're kind of like the leaders of I would even say the lost leaders of why people kind of like move to a certain area even, And I figure, for myself, like I said with Big Mike's, it's bigger than us. These institutions are bigger than us. They're the reason why people make decisions where they're going to be geographically located all the time. So I love giving my time and attention to things like this.
Yeah, and we appreciate it so much. I don't know if a lot of people know this story, but you and I met right after I came to Fletcher.
Yes.
We were heading into our strategic planning session, and you reached out and you said, I don't really know much about Fletcher or what this strategic planning stuff is all about, but would it be all right if I came? And I was like, yeah, let's. Yeah. And for me, it was so wonderful as a new person in the community, a new person to the college, to have another person who was relatively new to our institution, who said, I'm just taking an interest and I want to know more, I think is what you said. Like, it was just sort of like, I want to learn more about this college.
Yes.
And you showed up to all of the gatherings, you gave your input, you were in the room, and look at where we are.
Yes.
Right? Look at where we are 10 years later. And it was because of people like you who were in the room and gave their feedback and offered their support and their opinions and just, again, their time and their expertise to make this institution a better place. And that really, I think, says not only a lot about you, but says a lot about our community.
Yes, I agree with that. And, of course, you being here has just been, like, phenomenal. And I tell you that all the time. So we appreciate you here in this community.
You.
We know that Fletcher is moving forward, and you're in the back pushing it. So
that's it. I am.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like uphill.
Yeah.
Both directions, right?
I get it. Look, as business people, you know, we understand that, but you know, we're the ones that go home at night, and you know, we don't turn it off.
Yep.
You know, it's always trying to make things better. Yeah. You know, I get that. You know, and anybody who's passionate about anything, it does the same thing. You know.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. What do you see on the horizon for our community and our region? What makes you hopeful about the future?
So I tell you, one of the things that makes me hopeful, and I talk about this recently, seems like a lot, is the expansion of like what you're doing here, right? Terrebonne General, the idea of a wellness center, you know. There's a car dealership being built right now. We just did an animal clinic. There's probably 3 or 4 projects. I don't know exactly what they are, but I see coming up. On the way here, I saw a massive, looked like form, like they're getting ready to put a huge building up, you know, further down on 311. And I looked at, I don't know how most people, when they see stuff like that, what's going through their mind, but what's going through my mind is we're getting something else.
Something new's on the way.
Yes, yeah. Well, because I know it translates, you know, to like community building, right? Anyways, that's what really motivates me is, you know, just seeing that everybody is continuing to move the ball forward. And you just cannot beat, you know, one of the things, I've been here now 17, 18 years, and every time I go home back to Tampa, I get so overwhelmed by how big it is and, you know, how disconnected everything is. And then I cannot wait to get back here. You know, it's like, we got to go back home, you know. So this is my home. And just so you know, and I may have told you this story before, I didn't spin the globe and go home in Louisiana. You know, kind of like Coming to America when they went to Queens, right? I didn't do that. My dad was born in this town in 1931. Wow. And, you know, he lived here until he was about 16 or 17. He moved to New York. He ended up in the military. And when he got in the military, him and my grandfather ran the Apollo Theater in New York. Really? Absolutely. Well, my grandfather ran it. He worked for my grandfather.
I'll be darned.
And somewhere in the 60s or 70s, he moved to Tampa. And then here's Mike Lewis in Tampa. And I've been coming to Houma because he moved back here in 80, 81. And I've been coming since I was 5 years old. And my dad had a mechanic shop in Deweyville. And I don't even know the real name of that area, but we called it Deweyville. And he had a mechanic shop there for years. And as a child, I would go there. I would help him work on cars and clean his tools. And whenever he was ready to go on break, since he was his own boss, he'd put a note in the door, gone. And, you know, we'd go to Tasty Donuts and eat a donut. And he'd drink coffee. And I'd play Pac-Man, you know. So I've been coming here forever. So this isn't I'm not a transplant, and I certainly have a family connection here, you know. You know, one of my family members is Frank Lewis, who played in the NFL, you know, and he still lives here.
Yeah.
Not in Houma, but I think he lives in Presque Isle. But anyways, that's who I am, and that's why I love this place. You know?
Yeah, deep roots.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so another sort of funny side story, came down, and first time I met Frank, he said his name was Frank Lewis. And I was like, Frank Lewis? And then he said something about playing football. Well, I grew up in Cleveland.
Okay.
He played for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
He did.
And so I knew,
Oh, okay.
like,
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I'm with Frank Lewis. I called all my brothers back home.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're never going to guess who I
Yeah.
met, who I know. So,
Oh, yeah.
So now I can't say as Browns fans, we were particularly excited that he
Yeah.
played for Pittsburgh for the Steelers. But
And
that
he
was
played for Buffalo, I believe.
That's true.
Yeah, he played for Buffalo for a little stint.
Yeah.
I walked into his office one day, and to this day I still have it. And he laughed too. I walked into his office, and I had a football playing card with him on it, and a big old afro. and
that's the Frank Lewis I remember.
exactly. And I walked into his office. I said, "Hey, I need you to sign this." And he laughed, and he signed it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
I still have it.
So do you know how to work on cars? Did you retain any of that knowledge?
My dad gave me a good sense of mechanic work. I'll say that, but could I work on a car? One of the reasons why my dad got out of the business when he did, one, he was older, but also the technology had changed so much that, now everything's a sensor and this, that, and the other. But I will tell you, it's a funny story. What I did do was clean his tools a lot and organize them. Of course, he just throw them back in there and they all get disorganized. But I was doing that one day and I started a fire somehow. And I panicked. I didn't want my dad to know that I'd started a fire. So I saw these piles of jackets and clothes inside of his mechanic shop. So I went in there and I threw them all on this fire, and it didn't go out. So I got more. Hey, I don't know why there was so much clothes in the shop. I burned up all his jackets. Burned them all up, trying to put this fire out. And he's pretty mad at me. But
Imagine
yeah. No, I don't know. I was cleaning with gasoline or something. I was
Oh
cleaning
my
his tools.
goodness.
Somehow started a fire. But yeah, I did. I helped him work on cars, and I might have passed him a wrench, or he showed me how to fix lawnmowers.
Oh, okay.
As kind of like, I guess, an entry level of mechanics. And one of the things that he taught me, he goes, son, most people throw out lawnmowers, and they're not really. There's nothing really wrong with them. He's just like, there's a shear pin inside underneath, and normally what happens is the blade will dislodge because it hits something heavy. And all you got to do is put a new shear pin in it, and the lawnmower starts right up, and no problem. And that was the truth. I as a kid, I think I fixed 2 or 3 lawnmowers because somebody threw them in the garbage.
Oh,
Hey,
wow.
I'll take that and go
All
see it. So
right.
that's one of the things I learned from him.
There you go. And gang, you heard it here first. Before you throw the lawnmower on the side of the street, and
shear
Big Mike
pin.
has to come and pick it up.
Yeah, it's the shear pin.
pin.
Yeah.
YouTube that. I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
Exactly.
Before we wrap up, I have just a couple other questions, but I do want to ask you, I'd be remiss if I let you out of here without talking about workforce.
Yes.
We know that we have shortages of workforce. And what are some of the essential skills that folks need to work with you at Big Mike's?
We're a different kind of industry. I'll start by saying that. And I didn't say this. Anthony Bourdon said it.
I just read a book about him.
Right?
It's super interesting.
We're a industry full of misfits.
Yeah.
Okay? And that is what he's saying by saying that is that we're a place where people get their first start, where we're a place where people, their skills speak louder than their education. And for those who don't have it, we're a place that they can start, right? So for us in our industry, and we have a specialized industry, when it comes to education and things like that, is you have to have passion. You have to have the ability to work well under pressure. These are not things you can be taught. You kind of have to have it naturally, right? But, there is a certain level of organizational skills that you also must naturally have to be in our business. But I think mostly if you have the passion, the ability, and the want, our industry is fairly easy to get into. We're also an industry of, just people who have the physical ability to work long hours. because we're on our feet all day. So we're a specialized type of hire. And one of the things that I look for when I hire people in our industry, because I didn't start this conversation. I was saying that, oh, we just hire anybody. No, you have to have all of these attributes in some way, and I got to be able to identify them at the table. And one of the things that I like to see from people is that they're passionate about hospitality. You know, and the analogy I use, I don't know if it quite matches up, but if we're playing basketball and I'm going to pick a center, I am not going to pick somebody who's 5 feet tall.
Oh.
Why would I?
I don't know.
Not as a center. You got to guard the hoop, right? You can't.
Oh, I've been knocked out.
Yeah, you're not going to get picked. I can tell you now, you're not going to get picked. So we have to pick the right people for the right job. Yeah, I don't think there's any 5 foot centers in the NBA. I'm pretty sure there's not. Yeah. So, you know, you have to pick the right people. But I think first and foremost, though, across any industry, though, you have to present yourself as a serious person, you know, and you have to show up with the right attitude. You have to show up dressed like you came there for that position, whatever it is. And, you know, I look at myself as a young kid. I wanted to be a manager for actually my second job was Steak and Ale. I never missed a day of work when I worked there. I worked there for 4.5 years. Not one day of work I ever missed. But it's so funny. Like, I was always particular about how I came to work because I wanted people to see me in the position that I wanted, right?
Yep.
And, you know, of course, I'd get picked on and teased by the other cooks or whatever. You know, why you got dress shoes on? You're grilling, you know? Well, they're slip resistant, but they're wingtips.
Right.
You know, and because I want to be viewed this way.
Yeah.
You know?
Dress for the job you want, right?
Absolutely. You have to do that. People have to see what it is you want in the way you present yourself, you know? And if they can't see those things, then it's going to be a lot harder for you. You know, and so you have to represent what it is you're trying to go after. Yeah. And that's the advice that I give to people.
That's a great advice. A long time ago, I had someone say something similar, and it was, "What do you want? You think we're all about brands, right? So, what is your brand? What do you want your brand to be?
Right.
Right. When Big Mike shows up, what do you want people to think, to associate, you know, and you've talked a lot about it, consistency and quality and community and all of those things, right? So for those of you who are listening and watching, you know, I would challenge you the same question, you know, what is your brand? And how do you show up to the office, to your job, in your personal life, right?
Right.
That is consistent, how you want to present your brand to the community. I
certainly believe that. And I'll tell you, you know, there's a lot of, you know, we have social media these days. There's a lot of chatter online about working versus not working, I own versus not own. Everybody's not an owner. Everyone's not a worker. You have to decide what you want to be and be that. But most importantly, I think, and I can only speak for myself, I've never worked at a place that I did not own. That's a true statement.
Yeah.
You know, if I worked for you, I own that place. And, you know, I did everything that I could to display that I was trying to do my job to the best of my ability. And then where I fell short, I was always looking to get better. That's a true statement. Yeah. So I say you should own where you work.
Yep. I love that. Absolutely love that. All right. So let's wrap it up with just a couple more questions. I am wondering, are there any menu items or anything on the menu that has a personal story behind, or that you're like, I don't care if nobody ever orders this again. It's staying on the menu because I love it and I want it there?
I won't say there's nothing to that effect in that way, but I can tell you, I mentioned earlier that our barbecue sauce has Barks root beer in it.
Yeah.
And so my dad and I, we went round and round. I would come home from work every day, and he'd have all these sauces in different bowls set up on. He'll taste this, taste that, taste this, and there was one. It's kind of the recipe we have today, but we took a lot out of it and added some things. But I was like, Dad, why is this pale looking? He said, I put flour in it. Flour in a barbecue sauce, right? Like, but he was trying all kinds.
Right. He was up to no good. High mischief.
Trying all kind of stuff. And, but ultimately, the sauce we have today is because of my dad. Oh. And it's been on the menu from day one. It has not changed. That's the only really story behind the product. But as far as like something on our menu, I'll tell you this. So you're talking about being consistent. You also got to listen to the people when they're telling you things, right? Because they're paying you, right? They want what you have. And if you don't have what they want, then they don't come. So when we first opened Big Mike's on Barrel Street, the first Barrel Street location, we had what we bottom round we would smoke. It's a cut of beef. And the only reason why I used it, because in Florida, we don't use brisket. I don't think at least when I lived there, I don't think there's a barbecue restaurant that sold brisket, That's more of a Texas thing. But they would sell top round, and they'd smoke it, and they'd chop it up and make it chopped beef sandwich. And but everybody that came into the restaurant, remember, we're close to Texas.
Right.
So they're like, oh, you got brisket? No, we have chopped beef. Okay, and then leave. So just like, okay, I'm out. So like, what is this brisket thing? Yeah, because I to be honest, like brisket, that's not the region I'm from, so I don't know much about it, right? I imagine I call my distributor pretty quickly and I say, hey, look, whatever this brisket thing is, we need to get some of that. And we learned how to cook it. And we've been doing it ever since. But it didn't take too many people to walk out before I say, well, I probably better get this brisket in here. Because nobody wants chopped beef,
I love chopped beef. I would have enjoyed that.
Me too. Yeah. Like, I like it as much, or if not better, especially if there's enough salt and pepper on it. But, nobody wanted it. And, it goes for the barbecue too. Now, I'm going to tell you, barbecue was a tough sell in the beginning. We're not the first, right? There was, Luther's at some point in the 80s. I think it's where Big Al is located now. I want to say, Smokin' Joe was where Brooks Snow World is at off the Bayou. And those are the only two places that I can recall offhand. But when we opened up the barbecue restaurant, it was a fried chicken place before I opened up the barbecue. So we kind of transitioned from my ownership of the business from the person that was there with the fried chicken kind of overnight. And every customer that would come in to the restaurant wanted fried chicken, right? But I didn't have fried chicken. And now this is before the brisket issue, right? Yeah. And they would turn around and walk out. So guess what we started doing? Fried chicken.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. We fried chicken probably, I don't know, a year. We fried chicken.
I did not know that.
Well, look, sometimes you got to steady the ship first. And it took putting chicken in there to kind of get people to then ask about the barbecue.
Something else,
Right? Say, we fried chicken. And at the end of the day, I would look at the sales and go, oh, man, I probably should have kept my job. So might have been a good idea to be able to pay rent, Right. It was one of those things that I felt like at the time we had to do to at least get it going. And we certainly fried chicken for about a year. And then, of course, people start gravitating to the barbecue and then the whole brisket situation. And that's just kind of like a funny story. But to this day, I'm telling you, every now and then, somebody will say, when are you going to start frying chicken again? Yeah.
Wow.
We're past those days.
Yeah, you're past those days.
No more fried chicken.
Look, don't be afraid to change when you need to, right? Or pivot a little bit. Boy, that is a great story.
Oh, yeah.
So you walk into Big Mike's Barbecue. What are you ordering? I got to ask.
Okay, so
what you go to?
I'm all over the board. And I'm only like this with my restaurant because like any other place, I'm just like you. I'm a creature, or like everybody, creature of habit, right? Wherever your restaurant is, favorite restaurant you go to, you never scour the menu. It's like, let me get this, right?
Yep.
My restaurant's the only restaurant that I go to. I'm all over the board. And I think subconsciously I'm like that because I want to know what we're putting out of the kitchen, right? Yeah. But here's the short answer, right? I am going to be a spare rib guy.
Okay.
I'm a traditionalist. So I'll do spare ribs. I might do sausage, and then I'll do the brisket because it's reminiscent to me of chopped beef.
Yeah. It's close.
But
right?
it's close. It's close. And so I might do those three, and then I'm a traditionalist with the baked beans and potato salad. That's a real,
Okay.
barbecue plate. Because now barbecue restaurants are more progressive than what they used to be on their menus. You would go to Texas, which is, said to be the barbecue capital, and they would just have barbecue meat and these two sides. Chefs have taken over these barbecue places, and you'd be surprised what you'd find on these menus today. And somehow they're tying them back into barbecue. Like, you might get a barbecue taco somehow, or, some type of gyro with brisket on it, or just whatever. Yeah. And so we have a diversified menu, but for the most part, I'm a traditionalist with those items. But other than that, I'll get something outside of the menu like a burger, or outside of the barbecue menu like a burger, or, a fried chicken sandwich, or, we have all kind of stuff there.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so you just made me think about one other question, and it's just, I have to know. White bread.
Good question.
Where does that come from? And what's why the significance? Why do we do it?
So I am so glad you asked that. Now's my opportunity to get it right.
For everybody, listen up out there. We're about to get this right.
Fast forward to this minute on the video. Wow. So white bread is a traditional bread served with a side of barbecue, or vice versa. Anything other than that would not be traditional, such as cornbread, muffins. I would imagine that, before, because you remember, barbecue is an old art form, right? And, the world didn't become, chefy till well after that art form was an art form. And then white bunny bread is what it was originally served with, which is why you will find 95% of all barbecue restaurants serving white bunny bread is because it was a traditional item. My hometown barbecue restaurant, Big John's, white bread. And I'm going to find cornbread or any of these things with it. Not to say it's a bad idea to do, but it's just not traditional.
Right.
And at one point, even in our restaurant, we switched it to garlic bread.
Oh, really?
And in my mind, it was going to do better, but we would see almost as much garlic bread go back to the kitchen as we would white bread. So it was, one of those things like we started, like do what you do and, and just leave it, right? And that's not to say that we would never, do something different, but we feel like we want to offer it in the traditional way, which is just with the white sliced bread. Yeah. It's a traditional thing.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. I always just use it because it soaks up the rest of my barbecue sauce, and then I eat it. It's delicious.
There's a guy that every time I see him, he'll say, "Yeah, I like making me a bend over with that." What's a bend over? I take that meat and I bend that bread right over it, So bend over, So he don't want cornbread,
Last question for you, and this is kind of back to the personal side of things. Well, first of all, what we found out is that you'll tell anybody your good stories. There are very few secrets out there about Big Mike. Right. So if y'all come up with one, you email me. Right. But from what I hear, huge Saints fan, cannot stand the Bucks, love it when we play each other.
Well, let me say this. Since I was a child, as far as I remember, the Saints and the Bucks have played each other twice a year.
Yes.
Right? One's kind of at the beginning, one's somewhere closer to the middle to the end of the season. And I am a fan of whoever needs my vote or my fanship at the time.
Ah, okay.
Right? So in the beginning, it's probably no one.
Right.
Right? But by that next game, one of them need me more than the other, right?
That was very politically correct.
So that's politician speak right there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now look, truth be told, y'all, when I asked, somebody just said huge Bucks fan.
Yes.
Which makes sense. You're from the area. You grew up with them.
Fun fact.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was in Tampa when they won the Super Bowl. I lived here when the Saints won the Super Bowl.
So you are the lucky charm.
Yeah. I was.
Well, I need you to get to the dome stat.
And it's great being in the city where the Super Bowl is won, because I'm telling you, watching the game that whole night, and then all of us, and we know because we experienced it here, and all of a sudden the streets get loud.
Yeah.
You know, like your whole town is just going bananas, you know.
Yeah.
So I experienced that in 2 places.
Boy, that's lucky.
Yeah.
That is lucky.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are listening and maybe not watching, when I asked that question, I got a side eye that I was almost afraid he was going to kick me under the table.
No,
But we appreciate you coming on the show today. Look, folks are interested in learning more about Big Mike's, especially the menu, maybe ordering up some good food. You got a website for us?
Oh, yeah. You can find us at Big Mike's Barbecue, which is the abbreviation BBQ, SH as in smokehouse.com. That's where you can find us.
I know you're always ready to serve our community in whatever way you can.
Yes, ma'am.
And look, we'll put the website and all the information from this podcast today in our show notes. And so I want to thank Big Mike for being here again with us. Thank you not only for the delicious food that you put into our bellies every day, but for your service to our community and for your service, most importantly, to us at Fletcher Technical Community College. We really appreciate you.
Thank you. It was great being here.
Absolutely. And look, if you are out there and you have not liked or followed us yet on your YouTube or your podcast station of choice, please go out and do that. And be sure to maybe share us with friends who you think might enjoy Bridging the Bayou, the podcast of Fletcher Technical Community College. Thank you for listening to Bridging the Bayou, the podcast of Fletcher Technical Community College. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.